Hi everyone, it's Dr. Lauren Critchlow bringing you the second part 2 of managing constipation. If you missed part 1, you can scroll down and look for it. So today we're going to talk about how we treat constipation. In most people in Western society, in the US especially, we need more fiber in our diet. So that's kind of where we're going to start with this. Fiber supplements or other bulking agents sold at drugstores are available. Supplements take sometimes several weeks or even sometimes months to reach full effectiveness, but they're not habit forming or harmful as some laxatives can be, especially if we're overusing or abusing laxatives. It's important to avoid regular use of laxatives and even enemas. This can actually decrease the ability of the bowels to function. So it's pretty common that we'll see that if a chronic overuse of a laxative causing some problems with the bowel system to kind of learn again how to move food through the system. Discussing fiber needs with your physician is a good idea. The recommendation is typically 25 to 35 grams per day. Most Americans are getting maybe 10 to 15 grams per day. Make sure also when we're adding fiber that we want to also make sure we're getting enough fluids as well. So getting about 6 to 8 cups per day will help also work with the fiber to move things through the system really well. Keep in mind that your body has a natural emptying reflex. So about a half hour after we eat a meal or drink something, whether it's a hot beverage, we have a reflex that occurs to increase motility or movement of the stool down to the rectum. It usually occurs in the mornings. So typically when we do go to the bathroom, it is pretty typical. We'll get up first thing in the morning, we start drinking water, we might have a cup of coffee, kind of get things going. And then usually after we eat or even after drinking, we'll have to go to the bathroom. Take advantage of this reflex. It might be a good idea to try to get up a little bit earlier to eat breakfast, allow time to take advantage of that before you're getting your family ready and things like that. It's also really important to properly position yourself on the toilet to allow for relaxation of your pelvic floor muscles. So it's important to kind of get your feet supported on either a step stool or maybe a squatty potty. What this does is it actually puts your knees and your hips in more flexion. So if you get your knees above your hip level, it actually straightens out your puborectal angle. So it's easier for us to empty. So that's something to consider. Leaning forward, supporting your elbows on your knees, and then taking some deep breaths, allowing time to actually rest and let yourself go to the bathroom instead of trying to strain or push things out is a good idea. Exercising on a regular basis, also a good idea to do. Even just going on walks is important. That can help stimulate a sluggish bowel. I'm going to give you guys a recipe that we'll tell to patients to help soften the stool. This is a recipe I think that's even recommended from physicians as well to kind of get things it's a little bit more natural so you're not having to rely so heavily on medications or supplements to get you the fiber that you need. Make sure though that you want to increase your fiber slowly. If you go from very little fiber to a lot of fiber, you can experience a lot of gas and bloating. And obviously that doesn't feel good, especially if we are already backed up. So make sure you do it very, very slowly. But the recipe is this. So you take a cup of applesauce, a cup of unprocessed wheat bran or oat bran. So these are things you can find in the grocery store. And then 3/4 cup of prune juice, and you mix that together, and it kind of forms like this little paste. But you can begin by taking 1 to 2 tablespoons each evening, followed by some water or a little bit of juice, and it can help soften the stool. You can slowly increase that to maybe 3 to 4 tablespoons. And you can store this in your refrigerator. You could store it even in your freezer in little ice cube trays if you'd like. This is just a good little recipe to help soften the stool. Things to try that we usually recommend as far as when we're addressing constipation from a natural standpoint is start by keeping a food log. Write down how many grams of fiber you're getting in a day. You know, you can look up whether it's produce that you're eating. You can look up how many grams is in a pear, for instance. You could look up, it's on the nutritional facts on the food that you're eating. Sometimes when we eat out, it's a little harder, but we can get a general idea of what we ate and kind of look up and get a ballpark figure of how many grams of fiber that we're getting. But start there, and then you'll know what your baseline is, and from there you can slowly increase your fiber intake. I do recommend doing it first with food before starting to rely on supplementation. Make sure you're getting enough water per day. So we talked about the 6 to 8 cups, and then kind of sip on the water throughout the day. So we're not chugging water, but we're slowly taking in little amounts at a time. We usually recommend about 4 to 6 ounces every hour as you're slowly sipping, so you're getting good absorption there. Also exercise, so we talk about going on regular walks per day, making sure you're doing either yoga or walking or just moving. That can really help get a jump start on your motility. Eat regular meals, try not to skip any meals. So skipping meals can definitely affect the peristalsis or how things are moving through the system. And then last but not least, make sure that the pelvic floor muscles are nice and relaxed. So we did talk about getting a step stool underneath your feet when you're going to the bathroom. A lot of our toilets, especially in the US, are raised. So get a step stool or a squatty potty underneath your feet, and that will allow for it to straighten out that puborectal angle that we talked about. So it can help get stool out of the rectum a lot easier and avoid straining.